day 13, and this would be actually meal 2. Meal 1 for living a healthy, abundant, amazingly balanced, joyful life, also called using food as your medicine, and also called reducing your blood sugar level, improving your A1C, improving all these other symptoms that are associated with too much sugar in our system, which is associated also with too much inflammation, and which is somewhat apparently, potentially, maybe I should use a stronger word, causal in heart disease, stroke, diabetes, a bunch of other problems. So here we are working away. I got Keely here. Keely's working on, hey Keely, how you doing over there?
Good.
Good. Tell us what you're doing.
I'm cutting up some zucchini.
Okay, so we've got some
Squash.
zucchini, we've got a yellow squash, we've got spinach, we've got kale, we've got collard greens and mustard green mix, green beans, mushrooms, tomato, avocado, onion, green pepper, red pepper, green onion, garlic. Okay, so this is our resource base here. And we're making food for our second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth meal. We already ate meal number 1, which would have been 1/4 cup of coconut milk. Now you remember I woke up this morning, this is day 13. I haven't been hungry. It's finally 6.5 hours went by from 6 o'clock to 12:30. All I had was that coffee with that 1/4 cup of the coconut milk, and there's no added sugar in that at all. And finally at 12:30 I thought, okay, my body's not profoundly yelling for anything, but there was this very little bit of slight feeling of a kind of slight, very slight fogginess. And I thought, well, okay, I'm gonna provide myself a little bit of additional nourishment, right? So what I did then was I had the that 1/4 of an egg white omelet with veggies and spinach. Do you remember that tiny little thing that I showed you? I had that with a 1/4 of an avocado. So that was meal number 1 today. Now, right now it is maybe 2 hours later. And we're working on prepping meal 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. And we're going to put them in these tiny cups because I'm experimenting with smaller portions. Now, I think any reasonable person out there would probably want to stick with something more this size. And we've talked about this type of container where in the big portion, we would take like basically 2 handfuls of all the green stuff, right? And so from here with my spinach, we get like a handful of spinach. You go right there, okay? And maybe some bell peppers, maybe a little bit of onions right there, right? We could add a little bit of this kale. Right there we go. We could add a little bit of this collard green. I've got this already chopped up in bags. There we go. You can eat that raw. It's super delicious. I've got some green beans here. We could add a few green beans. So there we go. And then we'd have a protein source. Maybe a couple of hard-boiled eggs. Okay. Voila. Did you see how I did that? It's like magic. Whew, wow. Hard-boiled eggs out of nowhere. So there we go. And all we're missing now, we've got 2 handfuls here. We've got protein about the palm of my hand. And then we need a source of fat. So we take, wow, out of the blue, here comes the avocado. Okay, it's slightly brown on the edges. We could put a little bit of lemon juice on that. And that will help that a little bit. But I could take this, cut it in half, and just rest that avocado there. I'd eat half of it. I wouldn't eat the whole half of an avocado. I would eat a 1/4 of an avocado. So this I might take. Keely, can you cut this in half for me right there?
Yep.
Let's flip it upside down. It's safer to cut like that. You're doing a great job on those zucchini. Okay, and it's easiest to use a spoon. Okay, whoop, use this please. Okay, so Keely's gonna bring that avocado over to us. Here we go, right there, yep. And quarter of an avocado is gonna, or an eighth, depending on where you're at with your triglycerides and all this, and we'll study that a little bit more specific later. This is infinitely more helpful than, say, butter. Infinitely more helpful than a few butter pats or half a stick of butter or whatever we cook with. You know, a lot of times when we're getting ready to cook, you put like olive oil, you put a whole bunch of butter. It's so delicious, right? And the taste of the butter is great flavor, no doubt, but it causes us to miss the other flavors that would be involved in what we're trying to make. So this forms a perfect meal. I could line these up. 6 of these. Maybe I might like to change my protein source. I could have some salmon there instead, some scallops. I could have maybe some tuna, cans of tuna. They make these handy little packages like this here, but you know, we got to be a little careful. You look on the ingredients, you see, is there sugar added? Yep, this one, it says there's sugar added, so we're not going to have this one. We're going to have a different package that, or maybe even like this pink salmon, we'd have half of this. And I look on the container. Is there sugar added? No, there's no sugar added. So I'd split that in half and put my salmon right there, or my tuna, or my chicken. There's a lot of easy, convenient ways to make all this food. And that's kind of what we're talking about right now, is setting our food up for the day. So we haven't done this yet. We haven't mapped the whole day out in one fell swoop, right? Now, I want to show you a little trick here. It's helpful to have hard-boiled eggs. There's some that we're making right there. And if you're into making soup the way that I am making soup, one easy way to go about this, and Keely, where's that big ladle that I had over here?
It's right there.
Here we go. Alrighty. So I'm going to put my eggs on this ladle. If I can, I'm trying to do everything one-handed here.
Did you just break it?
No, I didn't break it.
Good.
Okay, and I'm going to drop these eggs right down into this soup. Okay, we've got a nice, you know, we could just let them sit there and fish them out later, but I'm just going to, my ladle can withstand a lot of heat. I could leave my ladle right there, but I'm going to cook those eggs right there, and those weren't actually hard-boiled yet. I was pretending, okay? So we're going to hard-boil them. These here are done, and so I'm going to take those off, and we're going to have like a bowl of hard-boiled eggs sitting on the table here at all times. I'm going to cool these down here a little bit. And that will be a source of protein for us. If we get hungry, we could just crack open an egg, remove the yolk. Sometimes I'll leave a trace amount. We can grab a handful of our spinach, and there we have a handy meal. If we get hungry, we need something extra. Now, yesterday in my experiment of reducing my portion size, I ended up needing to eat about 8 meals. So typically we're looking at about maybe 4 to 6 meals spaced out every 3 to 4 hours. I'm playing with reducing my portion size. So I want you to imagine that with this here, each one of these would get an egg or some source of protein. Each one of these would get, you know, some spinach like this, and then we put our egg, and then we put maybe 2 or 3 olives with it, and then we have our little meal packaged up just like that. All right, so that's what we're aiming towards here with what we're doing. I'm going to go ahead and get some vegetables started. We're going to do a stir fry. So I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons of olive oil there. And I'm going to put in a little bit of garlic. Here's my precise measuring method. Okay, there's my garlic. Here comes my onions. Here comes my green peppers and my red peppers. I'm going to take in a separate container, put some onions, because I'm making also some other little thing over here, and green peppers, right? Over here I have some green beans ready to go that I've been kind of playing with a little bit. And Keely, can you cut up some green beans for us over here?
Right now?
And we're going to put in some of this zucchini over here. So we're going to have this really great mix and I'm going to put in the rest of my zucchini here. So here I'm going to make a little bit of oil and vinegar, onion, salt, and pepper mix, and I'm going to give myself a treat this time. I'm going to have a little bit of feta cheese in this as its own little interesting dish. Over here I'm going to add some mushrooms. And I'm going to let this cook a little bit. I'll put a little salt and pepper on it. And I guess we're turning this into a tiny how to cook for the whole day.
How big?
Now sometimes I do this and create maybe, so a little bit of salt. I create sometimes 3 or 4 days worth of food all at once, package it all up to make life very easy. There's a little bit of pepper. Keely's got a question. What's your question, Keely?
How big do you want these?
Kind of tiny. So we're gonna make some tiny little green beans to add to this, but I think I'm gonna cook those little green beans here. I'm gonna make a little space over here because I want to soften them up a little bit. Let's do this. Let me move everything out of the way, Keely. Let's put those green beans, Keely, right there. I made you a special place. It's kind of fun to cook with your family
Yeah, I'll put them all
or
in
your
the-
friends. Now I'm waiting here on the spinach, the kale, and the collard greens. I'm waiting to let this sort of kind of cook down just a little bit. Put this back. And you're doing a good job, Keely. Keep up the good work. Here's a little secret weapon that I will sometimes use in my cooking process here. Keely, can you undo this lid for me right here? Thank you. Thank you. All right, so in my stir fry, sometimes what I'll do is I have this little bouillon here that I can use to help with a little bit of soup. So I'll put a little bit of this chicken bouillon in here. And this, especially with something like the greens, that really adds a lot of flavor in the process here. All right, so I'm going to let that take shape. And Keely, if you can put those in there right away, please.
Right now, I was gonna wait
Yeah.
until they're all done.
Okay.
But yeah, as I finish.
Adding more of my onions in over here. I'm bringing you along for the process here today. Bear with me. It's partly I want you to feel like you're part of my family. We're all like one big family, right? You're aware of the science on this, aren't you? Genetics. There was a great migration thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. It began somewhere in Africa. And there was a great migration throughout the whole world. And given that we traveled, our ancestors, different directions, different places, different amounts of sun, different environments, we began to adapt. The pigments of our skin, people in different places, adapted and changed. So, we end up, maybe some of us kind of looking similar and some of us looking different, okay? But basically, we emerged, all of us, out of this great migration out of Africa. So, truth is, we're all related. It's like we're one big, gigantic, ginormous family, all right? So come in here, pull up a cutting board. You can stand next to Keely. Sometimes we use these as cutting boards. Come along for the journey here. Let's not just get straight to what are we eating. I know sometimes I like to go and spend some time with you on how I'm thinking or how I'm working with an impulse. Or last couple days, there's been a lot of interesting ups and downs business-wise. So how am I working with the ups and downs? How is that impacting my decisions about what I'm putting in my body, right? And it's not all just about the food that we eat. It's not all about just reducing sugar or reducing carbohydrates. It's not all about just picking a better carbohydrate choice, meaning something that turns to sugar slow, low glycemic index, versus something that turns to sugar fast, high glycemic index. It's not all about that. It's also about creating and being part of a sense of community with your family, with your friends. You saw I had breakfast with my friend Rick Bush yesterday. It was really, even though he had some things to say to me that I did not want to hear about the risk that I was taking, right? I really, really appreciated having a connection with someone who's actually willing to tell me the truth from their point of view, even if it appears to be potentially something that might hurt my feelings. He thought I was taking a lot of risk. And in fact, I believe he was right. I took some of the risk off the table to reduce my risk. And today, just about everything came back. Everything bounced back. All the moves that I made seemed to work out just fine. And the big fear and worry was actually the sky was not coming crashing down. It just seemed like it for a couple days. Actually, it was in pretty good shape. And this leads to a principle that I could summarize as fear is generally overstated. Fear is usually overstated, meaning that we think that things are going to be so bad and so terrible, but oftentimes it doesn't end up being as bad as what we think. I know sometimes it ends up being worse than what we think. I get that. Okay, spinach, here we come. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, should have some fun. Are you ready, Keely?
It's raining spinach.
Dun, 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 it's raining spinach. Dun, 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 dun. Very nice. Okay.
Got me with the yellow one too.
Call your greens. Rich, call your greens.
Call your greens,
Okay.
everybody.
I don't have enough containers for all of this food now. Okay, here comes this one. Kale. Did it super duper nutrient. Here it comes. It's raining kale now. Okay. And my green beans over here are still cooking. These little tiny guys. I'm going to pull some of those out and put over here. And in this one, we're going to wrap up in a couple of minutes, but you're going to see that meal number 2 for me is basically going to be those stir-fried greens. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of oil. Okay, down, did you see that? 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm going to add, it's nice to have a really good quality vinegar here. And Keely, can you get this lid for me?
Yes.
Okay. Keely was going to videotape. Do you want to videotape now, Keely?
Sure.
Okay, we're going to try to wrap up soon. Keely's working on those yellow squash. We'll put some yellow squash in here. So vinegar, we can put a little bit in there. Okay. And I'm going to add some salt and pepper to this one here. And I'm going to add a little bit of feta cheese. And that's going to be like a nice little treat. I'm going to add a little bit of, right here, I've got a little smidgen of garlic. Okay. A little bit of salt. Here comes Abby. Hi, Abby. How you doing, Abby? Say hi to my friends. We're inviting everybody over for dinner. Here comes some pepper. Right. Now, you could add, anything else to that. Turmeric would be an interesting choice. Turmeric is terrific for anti-inflammatory properties. I'm gonna add in some cooked green beans. Let me test it. It needs a little more time. All right, we're cooking away. I'm gonna load all these up with this stuff. I'm gonna make a couple soups here, just like this. I'm gonna take this, ladle it out. There's my soup. That's gonna form one of my meals. And I think what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna take my hard-boiled eggs, which are currently kind of resting over here. Let me just pull a couple out. I'm gonna make a giant bowl of hard-boiled eggs. So now if I'm gonna travel, I could crack these open and put those in, put one in my, like right in my soup. Just peel it. I've never peeled an egg with one hand. But egg right in the soup, and there's one meal. Now this is a tiny meal. I do believe that most of us should be eating at this level here, at least this size, 2 handfuls, as we've discussed. Palm of protein the size of your palm, so there's 2 hard-boiled eggs would satisfy that, and a fat like the size of your thumb. Okay, the avocado is bigger than my thumb, but I think that's going to do it for us. Okay, so this is the longest video that I've made for you so far. Stick with me, and mainly, stay with yourself. Stick with yourself. Stick with the wisdom of your body, which knows how to balance. It knows how to come into balance. Today, I'm moving with my impulses, which have been in the food department. You know, I'm not hungry. I'm going to eat anyways. I'm going to eat smaller amounts, and I'm going to pay attention to how I'm feeling. And so this will be, by the time we get done, will be about 3 hours after that first super tiny meal that I had. And I'm not saying that you need to eat a tiny meal. You can eat as much of this as you want. You could eat this whole mound. If you were hungry, make a whole gigantic mountain like we did back in the beginning, and eat the whole thing. Hey, I'll bet you like $1 that you can't eat the whole thing. You know, if you're really hungry, try to eat the whole thing, right? So there we have it. It's day 13. It's meal number 2, and we're gonna load up 3, 4, 5, and 6. Also, please note, I have scallops. Ta-da! These scallops are harvested in Connecticut. They are about $1 a piece. And I'm going to take my green beans. I'm going to put over here. The green beans just went right there. Okay, a little spinach got in there. A little feta cheese is going to go in there. It's going to be an extra, very delicious treat. So my scallops are now working. I'm going to have a little salt and pepper on them. And I'm also, for my protein sources, you see my salmon right here. So my salmon, I'm going to rest right here. Can you move that around, Keely?
Yep.
And I'm going to put a little salt and pepper. One of them I'm going to season with some ground up ginger. Another one I'm going to season with some salt and pepper and some turmeric. And
Let me just get this.
another one I might just do plain. Okay, so there's my salmon, my scallops. This will be 1 meal, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to line them up right here. And one of my meals is going to be hard-boiled eggs. And then another meal will also probably be hard-boiled eggs, and that will cover me for the day. My salmon cost is about $2 a piece. If I bought that already done in the store, I'm going to pay $6 to $7 where I'm at. These scallops are a little expensive. They're $1 a piece, but they're locally harvested. And so, you know, we'll do a little financial analysis of our eating plan here, and at a later time, and kind of map it all out logically. For right now, pay close attention. Keep at it. You can do it. Say goodbye to Keely.
Bye.
Say goodbye to Abby. She's working on her book. And I'll see you in about 3 hours or 4 hours.